Hello everybody, it's Ziz here, and today we are asking the million-dollar question. Is ESO worth coming back to? Now this is a very difficult question to answer because everybody has different reasons, but we're going to talk about some of the main reasons that people would have left, some of the main problems, like the clunky, unresponsive combat, class balance in PvE and PvP. We're going to talk about bots and bugs and grouping problems, the VR grind and endgame, and last but not least, we're going to talk about all the things that ESO was missing that other Elder Scrolls games had. And hopefully, by the end of this video, we'll be able to answer the question, is ESO worth coming back to? The first thing we're going to talk about is the clunky, unresponsive combat, which is near and dear to my heart, because that is my main complaint with the game. And that's actually why I left for a few months. I didn't subscribe, I didn't play it all, because that was so frustrating for me. That was my biggest complaint. And it would happen all the time, not just in combat, but everywhere. It would happen when you're trying to open a door. It would happen when you're trying to open a chest, when you're trying to get on your mount or talk to an NPC, all over the place, right? PvP and PvE, and just drives you nuts, right? And so I left for a few months, and I've been back for a little while now, and I can say it is a little bit better. There have been some little improvements. One thing is that they made weapon swapping work pretty well. Now it overrides anything that you're trying to do. It like automatically takes precedence, and it works usually right on the first press. Sometimes if there's lag, like if you're in PvP and there's like a huge battle with like hundreds of people, sometimes there's a little lag situation. You might have to press the button more than once. But usually weapon swap actually works pretty good, which is really nice because then in combat, you know, you can actually use two different weapon sets. So that's pretty good. In general, it's a little bit better, not a lot. I would say barely noticeable for the rest of the combat. Sometimes it's still hard to get blocks off in time, to break out a CC, to dodge roll. You're pressing buttons multiple times. And that's still a bit of frustration. I have some frustration still on that. When you press a button and you expect something to happen and it doesn't happen. So it's getting better. But the great thing, and one of the reasons that I came back to the game, was because during QuakeCon, Jared Carr, who's the art director at ZeniMax, went on this whole spiel about how they're going to fix it. Specifically, that's the first thing he talked about. And watching that, it really kind of convinced me that at least they're looking into it, and it should continue to get better and better and better as we go on. And here's a couple clips from that right now.
Combat responsiveness, I mean, we all play games, we know what this is. When I press a button, I have an expectation, and if the thing that I'm expecting doesn't happen, I'm frustrated, it doesn't feel good. Here's a chart which sort of shows all the systems and subsystems and factors that goes into a game feeling good, feeling responsive. And if something is missing, if effects assets are dropping out, or if there's lag, or even if an NPC doesn't impact the way I feel it should, it doesn't feel quite right. So I've gathered some actual feedback from our forums and from places like Reddit. We have some quotes, and I just want to sort of address a few topics directly. So in this player's feedback, it's dealing directly with button responsiveness, which is sort of what I just mentioned, which is I press a button, I expect something to happen, I expect feedback in my UI, I expect an immediate action. And so we're looking across the board at a number of types of things. Small things like when I'm out of magic or stamina resources, I need that audio cue to hear that's happening. I don't always see the bar. We're also looking at the quick slot, so consuming potions, and those kinds of things where when you hit Q, you're in combat, you really need to know that you consume that potion. So these things sound like small things, but it adds up to the experience.
Next, I want to talk about class balance. Now, first thing I want to say, I understand that if you're a good player, you can overcome any odds, right? Any class can beat any class. Everything has a counter. If you're really good, you can get great DPS with any class, blah, 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 blah. But we're talking about in general, is PvP and PvE, are the classes and abilities balanced? And no, they are not. Not at all. The good news is that every class has a few abilities that are really powerful. If you're a Dragon Knight, you're always going to use Green Dragon's Blood. If you're a Sorcerer, you're always going to teleport around. If you're a Nightblade, you're always going to use Dark Cloak so you can go invisible. And Templars now, every Templar is using Blazing Shield. Just because these abilities are so powerful, they're so much better than the alternatives, everybody's using them. So each class has some really strong abilities, but the problem is, a lot of the abilities out there are just garbage. There's a few really good options, and then just a bunch of junk, which turns into everybody having the same sort of skills. Now, I know there's going to be some people who are like, oh, I'm special, I'm hip, I use a different thing, and I'm cool, and I'm still successful. But when you go out there and you see that 70–80% of the people are all using light armor, and they're all using one-handed shield, and they're all using, or destruction staff, and they're all using insta-cast magic abilities, you know what I mean? It's because it's so obviously good, there's no reason to do anything else. And sure, there are a few other options you can pick, but they're just so prevalent, they're obviously more powerful than the alternatives. Same thing with Vampire. I know a lot of people be like, oh, well, there's a counter to Vampire, blah, 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 blah. When you go out there and you see 5,000 bat swarms because it's so good and so strong, does so much damage, it heals you for so much, you can use it so often, it's obviously the best option. Now, sure, you can use something else with a different spec and blah blah blah, but if you can't understand that there's a reason that so many people are doing it, it's because it's so powerful. Same thing is true in PvE. There are a few specific specs like Destruction Staff, Impulse Spam, Dragon Knight's single target damage. There's a few specific specs and classes that are always going to be doing a lot more DPS. Now, sure, can you do trials? Can you do these things on other classes? Yes, you can if you have a group of friends or a guild, or you're not worried about having the fastest time. But unfortunately, it's not super balanced. You can still win, but usually you're kind of pigeonholed into these specific skills and specific builds. Otherwise, you are going to have a really, really, really tough time. It's going to be an uphill climb. Another thing that really bugged people were all of the bots. It was really bad when the game started. You would go into a delve, you go to the boss, and all the mobs would be wiped out. The boss, there's like 50 corpses of the boss on the ground. There's 100 bots just standing around, and you don't even have a chance to get one hit off on the boss because it just dies so fast. Well, if you haven't played for a while, just so you know, the bots have been eradicated. And by eradicated, I mean gone. Sure, they're probably still out there, I guess, but I never see any of them. As you can see right here in this delve, totally fine, totally normal, just the way you would expect it to be. Killing some mobs, go to the boss, there's not a ton of bots standing around, so it's really, really great. You don't have to worry about it. I haven't gotten any mail or in-game messages asking me to buy gold or services or anything else, so they've done a really great job on that, and it's not really a problem anymore, so that's awesome. A huge problem we had was bugs in the game. Now, there were bugs for everything. There were quest bugs, there were skill bugs, ability bugs, there were terrain bugs where you get stuck in stuff, and all sorts of bugs all over the place. Now, when I came back, because I quit for a few months, when I came back, I got a new character, and I got him all the way up to veteran rank, like veteran rank 3, and I did all of the main storyline. I did the Mages Guild and the Fighters Guild and a bunch of quests, and I can honestly say I only know of one quest that is bugged. Now, I'm sure there's a lot more, and a lot of people be like, oh, there's all these bugs, and they're always fixing them. If you look at any of the patch notes, there's tons of bug fixes for quests, so it's always an issue. But personally, when I played, I didn't really have an issue. There's one quest that I've done a bunch of times that's bugged. I log out, I log back in. It's not a problem. It's not like it was at the beginning when the game came out and people like couldn't even progress their character. It was stopped. You couldn't get to veteran. I haven't seen any of those problems. So as far as quests being bugged, that's really been fixed a lot, I would say. It's really pretty good now. Now there are still a bunch of skills that are bugged. Now they're getting fixed, obviously, over time. They're getting better. But just for example, on my Nightblade, I only have 5 abilities. One ability is my charge, and you get stuck in the charge animation all the time. And then I have another ability, Strife, and what it does is it does damage and it's supposed to heal you. Well, it bugs out and it only heals you for like 1 health, when it should be healing for like 50 health, right? So that's bugged. So out of the 5 abilities on my bar that I want to use, 2 of them are completely broken. So there are still bugs with abilities, unfortunately. There's also bugs like in PvP, the post-turn door, you can't get out of there. Sometimes you get stuck and you can't move. So there are definitely still bugs in the game, but it's a lot better and it's not going to completely stop your progression. So it's not perfect, but it's better. And they're always trying to make it even better. One huge problem people had with the game was grouping issues. It's really difficult to group with your friends and your guildmates and do quests, and that's the whole reason this game is an MMO, right? It's a single player, and we want to make it MMO so people can play together. But the grouping system totally sucked. So it was a really big issue, and a lot of people hated it, and understandable, because you would be in different phases. Like, you're in a group, you're doing a quest, but the other person's invisible, or they pick a different option in the quest and now you can't see them and you're doing different things and you already did this and you can't help them and blah blah. Tons of problems with the game, and they're going to be fixing them. Now, I haven't seen a lot of changes currently, so if you come back to the game right now, you're still going to have a lot of those problems. However, during QuakeCon, they talked about a whole bunch of things they're going to be trying to do to fix the game and make it better for grouping. Here's some of those things they're trying to fix.
The first thing that I'd like to talk to you all about is the current state of grouping. Now, we know by frequenting the forums, we're on Reddit, we're on other social media websites, and we understand that grouping didn't quite hit the mark. It's a little bit tedious to group. You get out of sync with your friends or other players. So we're going to fix those things. I agree, yes, we're going to fix those things. And the way we're going to fix those things is as follows. So number one, we're doing a game-wide audit of all the quests in the game, looking for quests that separate you from other players and your group mates. And like I said, we're going to fix them. While we're doing that, we're also going to add more shared advancement with the quests. And what that means is, you know, say Wheels and Nick and Paul and myself, we're all in a group, and we have a quest to go and collect 5 foozles, or whatever it is. You know, when Wheels goes and loots one of those items, we're all going to get shared credit for that, so we don't all have to loot them individually. In addition to that, when you join a group, we're going to make sure that we sync you to their channel. And the channel is something that the mega server technology uses to kind of load balance things. So we're going to make sure that when you join a group, you can play with them and see them. Another thing that we're going to do to improve grouping is we're going to update the journal and the quest tracker to show you which quests you have in common with your group mates, as well as how far ahead or behind you are in terms of quest progress. The last thing that I'm going to touch on with grouping is a confirmation dialog for quest sharing. And what that means is, you know, say Gina shares a quest with me, she's going to know right away if I accepted it or if I declined it, and if I declined it, why I declined it. So that's just a few of the things we're working on.
So a couple really cool things that I think is going to happen whenever they get this system implemented. One is that you're going to be able to be in a group of people and you're going to share the quest. So if you're trying to kill 5 people and you kill 1 and your friend kills 1, it all counts together towards the same group, same quest. It's going to automatically put you in the same phase. All those things they're talking about, which are pretty obvious common sense things, right? Like, I'm not going to give them a pat on the back because that's obvious. That's the way it was supposed to work. That's the whole reason we were excited about the mega server, was that it was supposed to automatically put you with your friends and your family. And it doesn't even put you with your group mates right now. So it's completely ridiculous the way it's currently working, but hopefully eventually, whenever they fix it, it will start to work the way we always thought it was supposed to work. And quests are going to work the way they work in every other MMO. When you're with a group and you all contribute towards the quest. So not anything earth-shattering or innovative, but at least it will start to work. So that's good. And another thing that's really, really cool is that when you go into a dungeon, it will scale everybody to the group leader. So if I'm level 40 and I want to go help my friend who's level 20 with his dungeon, right now, the way it works is I'm level 40 still, and I just steamroll everything, which kind of ruins the enjoyment of doing the quests and killing the mobs and the bosses in the dungeon. Well, when they change it, I'll get scaled down so everybody will be the same level for the dungeon, and then it'll be a lot more enjoyable, and then you can play with your friends and family a lot better. So those are some cool changes that we'll hopefully see sooner rather than later. Something that people weren't expecting to do was to get to level 50 and then have another 100+ levels to grind. And that's pretty much what veteran ranks are. Every one veteran rank is about the equivalent of 10 regular levels. So there's gonna be 14 veteran ranks once Upper Craglorn releases. That's patch 1.4 that's coming out at the end of September, and so 14 veteran ranks is pretty much the same as 140 levels. So if you thought getting from level 1 to 50 was a drag and grinding and questing or whatever, you have another 140 levels to go. And that was a big problem for a lot of people. Maybe they wanted to go PvP with their friends, or maybe they wanted to try a different class, and the thought of starting a new class from level 1 and having to get all the way to veteran 14, that's kind of not very fun for a lot of people. Now, some people like it. They like to be able to keep playing the game and having more things to do and grinding and stuff. But ZeniMax understands that some people don't like that. So there's a couple things they're doing in the game. One is they're going to change the way that you get veteran experience. They're changing it so it's just like regular experience. So it'll feel the same as leveling 1 to 50, which means you can get experience from exploring places and doing dungeons and quests, and it's going to be everything that gave you experience from 1 to 50 will be the same veteran rank 1 to 14, and it's supposed to be a little bit faster. So that's nice. In addition to that, eventually they are getting rid of veteran ranks. Now, they're not doing it yet, but when the champion system comes out, they're getting rid of veteran ranks. Now, what is the champion system, you ask? Well, here's a video on it.
And that brings me to phase number 3, which is really the start of the introduction of the champion system. So as we talked about this problem I brought up, which was the predictable growth of your character, and how do you keep investing in your character? What's going to keep you entertained, each hour trying to improve your character? And really that's the cadence we're trying to hit, is getting you in to where at every hour you're trying to do something useful for your character. And that comes in these passives. And we're going to introduce a lot of new passives. But if only we could introduce these passives in a way that felt fictionally consistent with the Elder Scrolls universe. And now we might see that you have 8 champion points to spend. Here are the constellations you can spend it on. And now you'll see that I have the Apprentice. I've already spent 9 points in the Apprentice. And maybe I'll pick that passive, maybe Spell Shield instead. And when I spend that final point, I'll unlock one of those other passives that I have available to me.
Now that looks pretty cool. The interface is a lot different than anything we've seen in the Elder Scrolls Online, but obviously it looks a lot like Skyrim, so they're trying to make people feel at home who played Skyrim. Another cool thing about that, I think, is that any character I play contributes to the overall bonuses. So if I'm playing my high level character, or jump on a lower level character, or I make an alt, or I make another alt, or I make another alt, or another alt, I have a problem. Hi, my name is Steven, and I have a problem. But whatever I'm playing, at least it's contributing still to these bonuses, and I'm not going to have all these veteran ranks to grind, which is really nice. Now, what happens to all the gear that is tiered by veteran ranks? Well, eventually, their plan is to make it so you always have this sort of gear grind that you're going through, but it's instead of starting from 1 and trying to get all the way to here, it's like a continually rolling progression. So let's say you have the best gear right now and some new stuff comes out, then you're working to get the best gear, okay? Just like normal. But if you, let's say, just got to level 50 and you don't have all this gear, you don't have to work your way through all these different levels of gear. You start like right here, and then you just are working towards the new stuff. So it's nice because there's still always something to work towards, but you're not like super far behind everybody else. But that's coming who knows how far from now. I'm leveling up a bunch of characters as per usual, and I'm not even trying to get it, a high veteran rank, because it's not worth it for me to grind it now, and then later on, sure, veteran ranks will transfer over into champion points, so the higher veteran rank you are, it will give you more bonuses when the system switches over, but it's not worth it to me now to like grind for hours and hours and hours to get a veteran rank. Well, and eventually it won't matter as much. So that's kind of cool. Now, let's say you are done with all the veteran ranks, maybe they changed the system over, we're not worrying about it. What is there to do now? I'm max level. What am I supposed to do? And a lot of people felt that way. They were used to, doing raids and dungeons and other games and having this really long progression system, maybe through arena ranks or different things. And in ESO, they've been adding that gradually. So depending upon when you left, they added Craglorn, which added 2 more veteran ranks, so you can get to veteran rank 12. Lots of delves and bosses. They added trials, which are 12-person PvE encounters. There was 2 trials. At the end of September, they're adding a 3rd trial, the Serpent. It's also going up to veteran rank 14. They're adding the Dragon Star Arena, which is really cool. So even when you're max level, you can still do the Dragon Star Arena, and it gives you lots of cool items and loot. And what it is your group goes in an arena, and there's like 10 different waves of monsters, and they progressively get harder and harder. There's a normal mode and a veteran mode, which is incredibly difficult. So that's really good for PvE. In PvP, not much has changed yet, but the Imperial City is coming. Now, this is a little clip about the Imperial City.
So let's get to the meat, right? People have been asking about Imperial City ever since we pretty much announced. So now we're going to finally give you some details of it. First and foremost, it is a PvP zone. You get to go in there, kill enemy players. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's in Cyrodiil. It's PvP flagged. Not only is it PvP flagged, but there's also a lot of really cool monsters in there to kill. There's bosses, mini bosses out there, some of which you'll see in some videos coming up, that the team has done a really good job making them look pretty much badass as possible. The other big point about it is that you get to rid Imperial City of Molag Bal's minions, and this is his last-ditch effort. He's trying to take over Imperial City with that huge anchor. If you've been inside of Cyrodiil at all, you've seen the white gold tower with the big anchor on it and the chain sticking into the city. This is your chance to go in there and experience that content and actually capture several districts. When you capture the districts, you'll get a lot of rewards for it. You can actually respawn at a district once you own it, much like the keeps out in Cyrodiil. So that's a really cool bonus that we're adding to it. There's unique bosses and mini bosses like I mentioned before, and of course, something that's a really big draw is the PvE quests, as well as the monsters give a lot of XP and a lot of gold. This is very important because it makes not only rewards for the PvPers to kill other people, which I love doing, but also just having everybody go out there and experience as much cool content as possible to get a lot of really good rewards for it, and having the experience and thrill of rush of being able to get killed by enemy players. That's a whole lot of fun.
For those of us that played Dark Age of Camelot, we're probably really excited for this because there was another system called Darkness Falls in Dark Age of Camelot that worked like this. And it's so exciting because you only get access to it if your side controls the most territory. So it adds more meaning to taking and holding keeps. That way it gives you access into the Imperial City. Also, when one side has an entry point, that makes a really great spot for fighting and ganking and looking for people to kill. Once you get into the Imperial City, then if your enemies had it before, you can go in and kill him. Or if you're in there and someone else takes it, then you're trying to hold on to it while they come in and kill you. You can stealth and sneak around and still fight people, and then if you die, then you're kicked out. So a lot of really great things. On top of that, there's also going to be PvE and bosses and gear that you can only get in there. So a lot of really fun stuff that's going to add more to PvP. We don't know when it's coming out yet. Hopefully it's soon, but I know whenever it comes out, it's going to be really exciting and really fun. Other than that, they're also adding City of Ash, new veteran dungeon, and we can obviously expect more and more to keep coming down the road. So there is still stuff that you can do, and over time they're going to add more and more trials. But if you're expecting, 15 different raids that take you 6 months to progress through, you're not going to have that in this game. I don't know if we ever will, but it is getting better, and they are always adding more and more stuff. And the last thing I want to talk about is all the stuff that we were missing from other Elder Scrolls games. I know a lot of people started playing ESO and they were disappointed. People were asking, where's the Dark Brotherhood? Where's the Thieves Guild? Where's the justice system? Why can't I kill NPCs? Why can't I steal stuff? And which is a very valid, because that really adds to what makes an Elder Scrolls game an Elder Scrolls game. That's really part of the world and the game and the kind of the lore, and really makes you feel like you're playing Elder Scrolls instead of another game. And we haven't had that up until this point. They are adding those, and not only are they going to add them sometime in the future, but it's already working in the game that they're testing. Check this out.
Oh.
Stop right there, criminal scum.
All right. Now I can't afford to pay my bounty. Oh boy.
Prepare to die.
You aren't going to just have to be the establishment character, but you're also going to be able to be guards. You're going to be able to go in to find those characters who haven't paid their bounties, who've been on these killing rampages, and you're going to be able to enact your own justice. So that's right, there's going to be an active PvP.
Now, it's not in the live version of the game yet, but you can see they already have a working version that they are working on, they're testing, and we will see that sooner rather than later. And it's going to add so much to the game. Not only can you steal stuff and then get caught by the guards, which is really fun and adds a whole layer, but how much fun is it to be able to roam through the world, and then you see someone and it's like, they're an outlaw and they have a bounty, and you go and you try to fight them, and if you beat them and you collect the bounty, or maybe they kill you, and maybe there's a really epic person on your, that you always hear about, like this person who always breaks the law and no one can kill them or find them and they always get away. These are going to be the kinds of things that create more community and spark more interaction and add PvE and PvP to the whole game and make it feel more alive. On top of that, we got the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild and just so much stuff that's going to be coming in the game, not only for new players, but also even if you're max level right now, when this stuff comes out, it's things that you can do that you're going to enjoy, and you can keep progressing your character with these new skill lines. So there is more stuff coming. So is ESO worth coming back to? Well, that's really up to you and why you may have left. As I laid out here, there's a bunch of stuff that they're already working on. Some of it is in the game. Honestly, over the past 2 or 3 months, the game has changed a little bit, but not a lot. But there's so much stuff that's coming down the pipe here soon, and ton of things we didn't even talk about, like spell crafting. You're gonna be able to make your own spells. We didn't even talk about. There's so much stuff that's gonna be coming. As far as what's in the game right now, I feel honestly like it's changed a little bit. They've added a little bit more to endgame. You can do some 12-man trials. Combat is a little bit better. But what I'm really looking forward to is the next 3 or 4 months. A lot of this stuff they are already working on. It's already implemented on their test servers. And we're going to see it in game really soon, where we can steal from NPCs. We can kill each other with the bounty and justice system. We're going to have much better combat and the Imperial City. There's a lot of things I'm excited for, and that's what brought me back, and that's why I'm playing right now. And even though it frustrates me sometimes, I don't see myself going anywhere for now. So hopefully that answered some of your questions. Maybe you're interested, maybe you're not. Let me know in the comments below. Is there anything that ZeniMax could do to bring you back? Have you already come back? Or are you totally done with it, and why have you quit and you're never coming back at all? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, or follow on my Twitter or live stream. I'll see you out there.